UFC this weekend, we're back in Vegas for Josh Emmett versus Lerone Murphy. I'm just going to give you a quick breakdown of some of the fights, what I'm interested in betting on. I'm not going to do the full card because I just feel like some of them I've not got the best insight on anyway, so I'm just going to be wasting your time and my time trying to bullshit through them. So I'm just going to give you the fights what I'm looking at betting on, and to be fair, it's only a few on this fight. I had some maybes on it as well though, so we'll look into them. Last week we had two fights let us down. It was the Medina against Gaultier. Gaultier looked better than I ever thought he was going to look, to be fair, making massive improvements. He looked really calm and composed. He just absolutely dominated Medina. So yeah, that was that one. And the other one was Melky Costa versus C-Rod. And if you listen to the video of the breakdowns last week, I was swaying and I was kind of thinking I made a mistake because I'd already put the bet on C-Rod and I was thinking maybe I should have put it on Melky Costa. But yeah, that one let us down as well. I had a little bet on the Burnuckle FC in Manchester as well because I knew a few of the guys who were fighting on that. Ex-pro MMA fighters who were really good, fighting absolute nuggets. Yeah, so one fight let us down on that. It was the main event. The fight what I didn't know too much about. I just risked it and I put it with a favourite, and the referee stopped it in between rounds because he got a nasty gash on his eye. Anyway, let's go to the bottom of the card. So we got a few girl fights on this. We got Loma Lukbonmi versus Estela Nunes. Lukbonmi, massive favourite. I think she should get it done, but the odds are just not worth looking at. Next fight, you've got Vanessa Demopoulos versus Talita Alencar. 50-50 odds, so if you've got a good read on this one, it might be worth putting on, but I just think it's too unpredictable. Next fight, you've got Victor Henry versus Pedro Falcao. Now, I was thinking about putting Victor Henry on this, but I think it's just a bit of an unknown. Let's just have a quick look at Victor Henry and his record recently. He's 37, which is pretty not the youngest for a bantamweight. Last fight, loss against Charles Jourdain. I like Charles Jourdain. I think he's a good fighter, so I don't think it's a terrible loss. Win before that against Rani Yahya, who's been around a long time. No contest against Javid Bashrat in a split decision win over Tony Gravely, and then a loss to Asunce before that. But then a win over Ryan Barcelos as well, who just beat Peyton Talbot recently. And now Alberto Morales. So he's a decent fighter, Victor Henry. And he's coming up against Pedro Falcao now. Pedro Falcao from Nova União, he's 32. He's coming off a loss to Victor Hugo. And then a couple of wins before that. One on the Contender Series and one on the regional scene. So it looks like he's making his UFC, well, his second fight because he lost his debut. So yeah, you could look to put Henry on this one. Let's have a look what he is on the Tapology. On the Tapology odd predictions. Bear with me a second. Yeah, the predictions on Tapology are favouring Henry, and I don't mind that. I think he probably will get the win, but I'm just not looking to put it on. So next fight, we've got Reece McKee versus Daniel Frunze. I was looking putting Reece McKee on this. He's a bit of an underdog against Frunze. Frunze's coming in. He's got a lot of KOs, a lot of finishes. He looks to have a lot of power because I did watch a little bit of tape on him, and you can tell he's got that touch, just like that unnatural power. Do you know what I mean? Where he can put people out with one shot, and that's what swayed me off it because I think Reece McKee can get hit, and even though he's only been finished once before by KO, I believe. Yeah, knee and punches off Tim Barnett, who's a decent level regional fighter. But yeah, that just... And he's got, obviously, ground and pound finish by Chimaev. You can't hold that against him. But yeah, tough fight for Reece McKee again. He's not had an easy run with it with the UFC, has he? And I just feel like, yeah, he could get the win, a decision, but if he gets hit, he might get put out, so I'm going to stay away from this one. Right, so coming to the next fight I'm looking at betting on, we've got David Grant versus Daniel Santos. David Grant, a guy I know a lot about, used to train with me at SPG Manchester, Really good guy. Soundest guy you'll ever meet in MMA. And he's a really creative striker. Probably the most creative striker I've ever trained with. Really hard to read what he's going to do. He's coming up against Daniel Santos, up and comer from Brazil, but he's not fought since 2023 now, so he's been out of action quite a while, whereas Davy's been pretty active and against top level opposition as well. A couple of questionable split decision losses to Adrian Yanez and Daniel Marcos. You can't knock him for that, and I thought he won that Daniel Marcos fight. Potentially I'm a little bit biased though. Was probably losing the Rafael Sunsao fight until they got the finish, but what a finish that was. One of the sickest finishes in of the year that was. And then he's coming in off a win over Emmett, who's pretty decent. And I just think, yeah, Davy's better than this guy on the feet, and even if it goes to the ground, I think Davy's probably better than him on the ground as well. So he's a bit older, Davy, but he's tough as they come. He's a warrior. He's never going to give up. He's just going to keep fighting all the way to the end. The Tapology predictions as well are siding with Grant in this one. And I just think, yeah, as an underdog as well, I got him early in the week on a few of my bets at good odds. And now he's come down a little bit and near enough evens, I think. But yeah, David Grant, that's why I'm backing. I would say I'm a bit biased. Obviously, I am biased, but I do honestly think he's just the better fighter here. So, David Grant for that fight. Then the next fight, you've got Lewis Garul versus Ode Osborne. So this is another fight I'm looking at betting on. I've watched a few of both the fights, but Lewis Garul I've watched more recently just to do a bit of tape for this. And he's got good pressure. He keeps coming forward. He's got a good gas tank on him and he's really tough. Got good power in his hands as well. A little bit shorter than Ode Osborne. And the only fear I have with him is if he potentially gets clipped when he's coming in, because he's a bit of a walk forward guy. But I think he's just the better fighter here. Osborne, he's fought some tough guys, but he's only won one out of his last 5 fights, and I just think momentum, we're going with Lewis Garul in this fight, and that's all there is to it. Next fight, you've got Robert Valentin versus Torres Finney. Valentin's obviously going to give the height advantage, but then you've got to give the strength advantage to Torres Finney, who's an absolute beast, isn't he? Bit of a freak athlete. So, Torres Finney's the favourite. The odds are showing up now. They weren't showing up before. And predictions on Tapology are heavily favouring Torres Finney as well. And I do kind of agree with him. I've seen people saying he could get caught by Robert Valentin, but I feel like Finney, once he gets hold of him, it's going to be hard to get him off. And even if you do manage to potentially get a submission with him, I think his build's going to make it too awkward. I'm going to side with Torres Finney on this fight. Next fight, you've got Gerald Meerschaert versus Brad Tavares. Now, this is an interesting one, isn't it? Because Brad Tavares is a heavy favourite. Even though you would say Gerald Meerschaert's probably had the better recent performances. Brad Tavares definitely, I would say, the better striker, and he can be hard to take down. He's tricky, isn't he? But Gerald Meerschaert, been training with Bilal Muhammad now as well, and he looks pretty good. And I feel like he's got the more finishing potential than Brad Tavares in this fight. I say that, but Tavares could catch him with a shot. It's a bit tricky, this one. I was leaning toward Gerald Meerschaert just because he's 2-1. I think it's a pretty even fight. If you're going to take anyone on it, you may as well take Gerald Meerschaert because of the odds. So the next fight I'm looking to bet on is the Kennedy and Zechukwu versus Martin Buday. I can't even say that name. Anyway, I feel like Kennedy is going to get the win in this one. Martin Buday, he's good. He's a bit of a grinder, isn't he? Got finished by Shaziv as well. Shamil Ghaziv in his second to last fight. And I think Kennedy and Zechukwu he's got the power and he's got the frame. Even if Buday starts putting him up against the fence, looking for them takedowns, I can see him hitting him with some elbows to the ear and just getting the finish there that way as well. So yeah, I really favour Kennedy in this fight. And then next fight, Cortavius versus Chang Ho Lee. I didn't really have a play on that one, so I left that one off. Then we got Johannes and Brito versus Pat Sabatini. Another one I'm looking to bet on. I think Brito is a bit of a monster, isn't he? If you watch that fight back what he had with Diego Lopez on the Contender Series, he give what a fight! Like, he's really good. They both had the moments in that fight, but Johannes and Brito, I think he's just a bit of a beast. Sabatini's obviously got the grappling edge, but I think it'd be hard to submit Brito as well. I think he's too strong and he's got too much power, and I think he'd catch Sabatini. Because if you compare the fights, like what Brito had with Lopez compared to Sabatini, I know it's a bit different because like styles make fights and stuff like that, but I think you get a bit of a good understanding if you watch them two fights who's the better fighter. And I think Brito, yeah, he just possesses that power, and I think he's savvy enough in the grappling to not get dragged though. If he does, Sabatini could definitely get a finish, but I just don't see it, to be honest. And then in the main event, we've got Lerone Murphy versus Josh Emmett. Now, obviously, I'm backing Lerone Murphy in this fight, but Josh Emmett's got that power where if he touches you, he can just put you to sleep at any time. And I think it's just a bit of a risk putting Lerone on at the odds what he's at. He's like 1-3. If it was more like towards evens or 1-2, then I might entertain it a bit more, but I just feel like, is there any point putting Lerone on just in case? I think Lerone wins, but just in case he gets cracked. Anyway, so let's have a little quick look. So I've already put a few bets on, but I'm just going to put another one on now for this video. I've got a free bet anyway. So these are what I'm looking at. David Grant, even though he's on all my other bets, so that's the reason I was thinking about not putting him on this one just in case, but I think at the odds, he's too good not to put on. Luis Garul, Kennedy Nzechukwu, and then Anderson Brito. And if we put a tenner on that, you get 70 back. I'll get 60 back just because it's a free bet. So obviously I won't get my stake returned. And yeah. Oh well, I'll get 50 back, sorry. You'll get 60 back if you put it on. But that's the bet I'm going to put on now. So I'll lock that in. I am going to put some bets on PFL as well and Octagon. I've put some underdogs on a bit of an accumulator as well, or parlay. So I might do a quick video on that, what I put on as well. I know this wasn't the best video. I'm just brushing around a bit with it again this week. Hopefully the sound quality is better though, because I've got a new mic now. But yeah, so good luck with your bets on the UFC this weekend. Let us know what you're putting on, and I'll see you next time.